Welcome back, 6:43 on Daybreak, and we're celebrating Western New York this morning and a local teacher who's helping kids tackle the challenges of remote or hybrid learning in her new children's book.
And in that book, she encourages kids to take ownership of their learning journeys, no matter how different or difficult they may be. And that's not all. Here's Daybreak's Heather Lee with more.
The pandemic turned the school year upside down in so many ways.
The first page is, the world is very different these days in 1, 2, 3, 400 ways.
Teacher Hailey Glynn hopes her new book will help students better cope with the changes and challenges that continue even months later.
The goal of the story is to encourage children to kind of own their learning journey, no matter where they are.
Glynn published Cornelia, Spunk Can Learn Next to a Skunk just a few weeks ago.
As she goes through the story, she learns in really bizarre places, like on Mars, on top of a pie, next to her grandpa who's snoring. And it does also incorporate some mentions of COVID-related things, like I can learn with plexiglass around me. I can learn on a computer. I can learn from a tutor.
The story talks about how learning of all kinds can be stressful or difficult, and that's normal.
It's kind of acknowledging that we all need breaks sometimes. And when we are learning new things, it can become very overwhelming at times, especially in these bizarre situations when we may not have the direct support that we need.
This is Glynn's second children's book. She wrote when Verona the Corona came to town earlier this year to explain COVID in a kid-friendly way. It sold more than 50,000 copies worldwide.
When that took off, I was just so excited that children basically all over the world at this point were able to take that story and use it to help them understand this wild time.
It was also important for Glynn to celebrate diversity and inclusion in her writing and illustrations.
Encouraging students to celebrate differences, and if we don't see those differences, if we don't experience those differences, we're not going to know that they exist.
An important message that will last long after the pandemic is done. Heather Lee, Channel 2 News Daybreak.